Hello, my name's Nirmanjan, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast. Learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett. Today is episode number 93, and I'll be talking to Sequoia Blue, an entrepreneur, a singer, and a podcaster. Hello, and welcome to Sequoia. How are you, Sequoia?
Hello, I am doing well. Thanks for having me on.
You're so welcome. I'm curious to delve into who Sequoia is and all the magical experiences that you've had from doing music, been a singer, been a writer, and navigating this new genre called abstract soul. So I'm curious to learn more about you in that realm and any other realm that you're willing to share. So I'm going to start with a really bold question of what do you believe about yourself, and does it define who you are?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, what I believe about myself is that I guess you could say I'm a Jane of several trades and good at a few. So,
Okay.
a lot of times the perception of it is I'm just not mastering it, but I am good at it, and it is bringing in some type of income. So that shows that okay, I'm good at something, even though the perception or maybe up to myself sometimes might be, well, I'm not where I want to be. And so therefore it's like, oh well, am I really the Jane of several trades? But then you look back, you got the products out there, people are buying, and you're getting out there. You're on the streaming channels with your music and stuff. So therefore, what I've read somewhere is that once you put something out, you are that. So if you're an author, you put a book out and you got it somewhere online for someone to see, you are that. You are an author. You don't have to be a millionaire to be an author, but you are an author. And it's the same with music. Like once you put the song out there, you are that singer. Regardless you make a million or not, you're still that singer. So that's what I view myself as someone that's just likes doing different things, and that's what gets me off in this life. That's what wakes me up.
That's exciting. And that's so courageous for you to say that you don't feel like you're a master at any of these. But truth be told, there has to be an element of mastery to put something out there for the public to be viewed, seen, consumed, and enjoyed. Right?
You know what? That's true. I mean, I think that sometimes we try to be too humble at times and be like, okay, because if you don't, sometimes you feel like if I don't have the Maybach, I didn't show them yet, but it's really not the case. I think that I do agree with you on that one. You can be a master and to yourself, to all of them, because it takes so much work to write a book. It takes so much work to finish a song that you weren't in the studio with 80 people, like Celebrity Singer has so much help. Whereas if I'm just by myself doing that, it's amazing to me. It's like, oh dang, did I just mastered this song with nobody next to me saying, hey, you need to do this or that. Like you're at your own will creating some art because you created it and by yourself. And that to me, that's a pretty big deal. So I do believe that people can be masters of it all, because I think that that's just perception. Because sometimes people will, because a lot of people don't do that. So it's almost like you're kind of like this oddball, and then you have to constantly explain yourself to people that don't think outside the box. But yet you know the truth, So that's true. I like that.
So the definition of Sequoia would be she believes she's a master at many things.
Yes, that's better. You're right about that.
There we go. I like that. I like that too.
I love it. I love that.
What do you feel is your calling? Because you've dabbled and created products and services in a number of different areas. So you've got a book and you've got music out there. What do you feel is your calling in this life, or perhaps one of your callings?
Well, I think my calling is to inspire people through my music and books. So my music and my books and my podcast is a way to inspire people. I think I'm meant to be a vessel and to share information that maybe others didn't know, or maybe make them think a little bit different. Like, I think my calling is to kind of make people think, like, not just go with what somebody tell you or what you know believe, just go with the flow, but to think. And that's how my music started. That's why I started with Abstract Soul, because when I got into the first thing I'd done was music. I never did When I first got into the arts, it was always just music. It was never anything else. And I remember when I was 20 years old, they're like, "Oh, you need to sing like this person or sing like that person." I used to try to copy them, and I said I got bored. I was like, "Well, I'm bored now." I was like, "This is not who I am." So and then that's when I started to just kind of find my own way. And that's when Abstract Soul came about, when I was like 24, 25. And I said, you know what? I'm making my own genre, because I don't want to be in your box. Because music is art, just like a painter is painting a picture. He might put a dot there, and that's art to him. To
Right.
me, I don't have to follow the rules with singing. I don't have to do it the way you told me. I can create a new canvas. And I kind of wanted to push that out there into the world. But when I got strong enough to push it, and now I'm strong enough to, I've been pushing the whole Abstract Soul, pushing the whole, my books, different way of thinking in my books. It's kind of like Paulo Coelho. Paulo Coelho has a different way of thinking as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he inspired me to be a writer, really. So I started writing, you know,
Yes.
based off of like my experience, even though it might be a different story, but it's like, okay, this is my perception of how something could be in this story. And so that's what my calling is to make people think. And that's to entertainment, arts, rather it's podcasting, music, anything like that. And technology, I just like it. It's not something that I feel is my calling. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
good at it. It's like, this is
Mm-hmm.
something I know I can do. If I need to get something done, I can use my technology light left side brain and get
Yes,
that done. And then the right side can hang with the art side.
that's right.
So,
Yes.
and I do like the fact that I learned technology, because I can say technology has been the extra sauce I needed. Because people think that when you're doing things, all of them don't connect the dots together. They all connect together. Technology and entertainment. It's like they're simultaneously dancing together.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you didn't know technology, you can't do a podcast, you can't do an e-commerce store, you can't set up things. It's going to cost you more money to pay everybody. So
Mm-hmm.
I realized technology was also a part of the piece of the puzzle, even though it's not necessarily my calling.
Right. Right. And it's beautiful for you to be able to identify that and put those pieces of the puzzle together. But I
Yeah.
would imagine at a very young age, at 20 years old, and having that determination and passion to create your own genre, to not be in a box. Where was that contrasting? Was that a contrasting behavior in who Sequoia has become now?
Ooh. Hmm. You know what? I think that I'm still the same way, but I think the confidence is there. Like, you can't you can't tell me now to go sing, like, I don't know, Katy Perry or Rihanna. You can't tell me that now, because I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
say no, and I'm going to stand by it. And I notice a difference now, the shift of the energy now, that I'm not 20-year-old Sequoia trying to be meek like a little lamb and explain it, versus older Sequoia that's like, oh no, this is who I am. And then you stand 10 toes down, you look them in the eye, and they're like, oh, she's really an Abstract Soul singer. This is who she is. So I don't have as much pushback, but I'm also
Mm-hmm.
not dealing with the industry anymore. I'm not dealing with that type of side, because they're about money, and they don't. It's not about the art and the soul to them. It's just like, what can make a quick buck. So
Right.
I said, when I got the whole independent movement came out, which kind of started coming out a few years ago, a lot of artists were noticing the same thing. And then I even noticed that, okay, I can sit here and do music on my own and say, okay, it may not sound like typical song, like how they say a Black singer should sound, like do all these screaming and church
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I don't do that. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to. So you can do, so that's what I'm pushing now, is the older Sequoia with confidence. I can go on a podcast and say, abstract soul. This is what we can do. And I would tell any artist out there that's younger singer that's trying to find her voice, be yourself, because you don't want to be in some mansion and then you cry yourself to sleep at night because you're not who you are, you know,
Right.
or you get depressed. And then there's no point of having it. So
Yes.
that's what I've learned in my 20s. And now being older, it's like, okay, stand by what your belief is, even if no one else believes it. And
Yes.
it's just so precious because now, you know, you have access to the studio now. You know, I got my own studio in the house. So I don't
Yes.
need to go to someone else and beg them to understand me because I have my own studio here. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things I'm proud of now.
But also recognizing that it is a gift. I mean, yes, at
Yes.
20-year-olds, many of us are in that place of exploration and just navigating and just
Yeah.
seeing what the world brings and doesn't, and testing and playing, if you will.
Hmm.
But to be bold enough to stay with it, because no doubt there was a part of Sequoia that it really hit.
Hmm.
What was that part for you that lit up on a whole different level that you went, okay, this is a thread I'm going to follow for the rest of my life?
You know what? I think it was when I was like 28 and I was dealing with a bad breakup and I was just moving to LA. I was by myself and I didn't have, you know, I was always living with my parents up until I was 28. So this was my first time being on my own and deciding things for myself. And while I was in LA, I just went on this self-discovery journey. I found God, and not religiously way, but found God
Mm-hmm,
in a
mm-hmm,
different way. And I started to talk to God and I started to get answers, you know, and answers don't always come with some guy coming down saying, "Hey, this was going on." No, it was
mm-hmm,
like I'll ask for something, I'll tell God, ask God a question, and next thing you know, somebody at a bar might say something, or I'll turn on the show, they just answered my question on the show, or I just so happen to pick up a book and then the answer's in the book. I'm like, what? So then
mm-hmm,
I realized there's no rules to this, and you're making
mm-hmm.
rules because of what someone else said when this whole world was made up by what someone said. The money,
Mm-hmm.
everything is made up. It's not
Yeah.
somebody made it up. So I said, well,
Yes.
how about I make up my own rules? And I just
Mm.
started on that journey of actually getting back and falling in love with my music again because I said, I'm just going to do it the way I want to do it. I want to do this because I love this. I don't want to make it feel like a job to me because I'm trying to copy someone else. So when I started doing that, I saw the energy around me change. Like when I explain my music, no one's like questioning it anymore. No one's, you know, trying to ask me, you know, am I going to sing like Rihanna or anything?
Mm-hmm.
Now the energy's different because I was different, because I
Yes.
was able to stand strong. I wasn't meek or anything like that. So that pivotal moment of living on my own, that taught me who I was as a singer. That taught me what type of singer I wanted to be moving on forward and to stand by it, you know. And it's been really fun since then. It's just been, and it's like more laid back too because you're not rushing to, when you do your music, you're not trying to think of, you want people to resonate with it, but this is a big world. Somebody's going to resonate with it. So it's
Right.
like now I'm at the point where I ask my ancestors to guide me and I sing it the way I feel I should sing it.
Mm.
And and that's why I started this movement. I'm starting this movement so other artists can take heed and we can break down this rule book that shouldn't be, you know. So yeah, that's
Mm.
when that was that pivotal moment.
And what a beautiful blessing that
Yeah.
may not have felt it at that moment of time of breaking up with in that relationship.
Yeah, yeah. And then that, yeah, because that was a really bad breakup, but I think it was meant, everything was kind of meant in a weird way. I do believe we all make choices and a choice could be bad, choice could be good, but I think in that particular situation it was like meant to happen. To whereas I was meant to, because I thought I was gonna, you know, end up staying with him or we getting a place together so he can help me with rent and stuff, but it ended up me being on my own, and I think it was meant for me to get to LA to discover and to really see who I was. So I really like that.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. There really is no accidents and there really is no
No.
coincidences. Everything is divinely planned. But
Mhm.
it's up to us to identify, recognize, witness it, and go with it. As
Yes.
painful as it may be, because no doubt that relationship was, like you said, uber painful. But that
Hmm.
was your biggest pivotal moment of, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall in love with music all over again.
Yes, that was it. That was it. That was it.
So, had you not, maybe it wavered in and out from it a little bit here and there. It might have not been as big of an aha for you.
It wouldn't have. I think I would have still been trying to appease other people in Atlanta because I was in Georgia during that time. I would have tried to appease other people. But I think sometimes getting, out of your parents' home and just being alone for a while, you learn a lot about who you are and what you really want. So it was like God was like pushing me. He planted this guy here and just pushed me. So so
And
yeah,
there we go. The story
yes.
begins to
The
unravel even
story
deeper.
begins, which I'm just grateful.
What do you feel are some of the attributes that connect you to your purpose now, having been through what you have?
Attributes. Let's see. So I guess I could say signs that kind of connect me with my music now is just I would say if I'm if I'm at a like watching a show or a movie or something like that, I just automatically come up with, different songs in my head. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just different ideas, or either I might be going through something like, dealing with, racism in America or anything like that. That might push me to go and write something. And it could be a poem, it could be a song. And then I just go back and edit it. After that, I'll go back and say, okay, let me edit this and change it to this now. And it's just those moments that, and even if somebody else tell me a story, their story, and I might write a song based off of their story, which I've done before. So those are the things that connect me back to the core of my music and even writing, even books, stuff like that.
So one could say potentially just life experience.
That's yes, life experiences. I think it's just the vibe of the moment that I get. If I'm on the porch and I'm looking at the stars at night, and I just start thinking about a different song, like a there's just so many things that make me. That's why I'm grateful that God gave me the skill to write, because I can write stuff out that I feel, based off the energies and people around me and stuff. And I think that's how I write my songs.
Feeding off of others and creating the stories. So the creativity, the storytelling, the
Yeah.
putting the melodies together, no doubt as well, right? That's all part of
Yes.
that process.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
of being in rhythm of it and recognizing when's a good time, because I'm sure there are
Hmm.
times where some inspiration is maybe a little more melancholy and other pieces of inspiration are more joyful and more uplifting. But either of them
Hmm.
are very important for us to witness and experience, right?
Yes, yes. Because there's times where if I'm feeling down, sometimes it's hard for me to write, but I still try to write anyway. But it's just you're right about that. The songs are up and down. Because my last single, Player Hater, it was just about the breakup of my relationship. You
I see.
know, um, and I kind of dived into that, and that song is actually one of my most popular songs right now because
Ah.
and that was the first song I've ever done where I was just kind of completely by myself. The last song I did before that, I was kind of by myself too, but I still had an engineer there. But this time I was in my own home doing it on
Mm,
my own, and that felt rewarding. It wasn't typically written the way, because I don't write typically. I don't write typical. One song you said melodic earlier. I mean, some songs I have may not be melodic. It's sort of
mm,
like I'm throwing paint on a canvas here, and I just kind of do it the way my spirit tells me to do it. So,
mhm.
like my first single, Chocolate Man, it wasn't melodic, they said. But well, they said, I don't know. But I just thought that all I did was sing from the soul, it kind of just came out. And,
Yes.
um, because of my love for dark skinned black men. So it kind of just came out, and I was inspired by India.Arie to write that because she did a song called Brown Skin. And for some
Sure.
reason I got inspired and did Chocolate
Yeah.
Man. So that's what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense. I get it. I get it. And but that's the beauty of being able to harness the gift that you have, to harness it and really recreate it and customize it and use your own experiences to put in to creating something.
Yes. Yes, I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely. So, what are your intentions with your craft?
Um, my intentions is to really to inspire someone, but to also maybe resonate with the audience too. So if it's about breakup, all of my songs have inspiration. And anything I do, the point at the end is I made it through, and you can make it through too. So the Play a Hater, I said you tried to break away my dream, you tried to steal my dreams from me, you tried to cast your spells on me, but it didn't work. So I'm basically saying that I still overcame him, and I just want somebody to listen to it and say, okay, she overcame this, so I can get over this breakup too, you know. And then just with my books, the actually I changed the title of Dark Obsession, you know, with the lawyer and her journey of trying to be the most successful person in the world, trying to look like a certain person. And she wasn't even happy about who she was. She wasn't happy in her marriage. She just looked like the epitome of success, but that wasn't her. So that story is trying to show people that sometimes it's okay to just do what you want to do because it still can work. You know, as long as you put the same discipline in it that you did when you wanted what you did what somebody else wanted you to do. So that was just inspiring people to just follow their passion because you don't want to end up in a marriage you didn't want to be in. You don't want to end up in a job you don't want to be in for years, and then you wake up and you're like, what happened? So that's
Right.
what Dark Obsession was about, and also some romantic stories in here too.
Very
She
nice.
meets a gentleman and he changes her life.
Yes.
So and so that book was just that was my first debut book. And that
Okay.
book, I was young. And the crazy thing is I wrote that book based off, I was working at the airport at the time. I was 20 years old and I was pushing people around the wheelchair. And I remember this lady got off the plane. She was the most beautiful lady I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I was like, why can't I be her? I was 20. I didn't understand. I
Mm.
wanted to be her. I thought she was like, had the best life ever. I was not making a lot of money. I wanted to turn
Yeah.
into her. So I'm looking at her and I
Yeah.
said, I bet you she's a successful lawyer. She got this big house and probably the most hottest husband. And what made it crazy is that the guy that was next to me saw me looking at her and he says, "You're gonna look like that one day." And I said,
Okay.
"Oh." And then that's when the book came to my head. It was like out of nowhere. And I remember at the time I was reading Eric Jerome Dickey, rest in peace. He just passed away, unfortunately. But
Mm.
he was one of the best writers I've ever seen next to Paulo Coelho. So I
Yeah.
kind of thought of his writing scheme. I
Mhm.
liked how he explained every detail of someone, their skin, the way they moved, the way their hair drifted on their shoulder. Like he was
Mm.
so, I said, this is cool. I want to write like that. So when I wrote Dark Obsession, I explained every detail, and it went with the flow of the story though. Of course, I wasn't the best editor, so that was my downfall. So that kind of
Mhm.
messed me up. But I didn't know anybody was gonna find it that fast. I put it on Amazon because Amazon said it was free, and I just put it on there. And people were like, "Oh, your editing is this and that." And so I was like, "Oh no." So I didn't know about editing. I never knew anybody in my family that wrote a book. So I didn't know. I just thought I could just put out a story. So at that point, it took me years to get it redone again. I had to find a top editor. Once I got into
Mm.
tech, like I said, that's why I said tech saved me because it
Right.
gave me the
Yes.
money. So I was able
Yes.
to pay a good editor now, and he redid the story. So now the story is actually out there. I mean, he didn't redo it, he just edited it. And
Mhm.
now the story's out there, re-edited. So that's good. and
That's
um and then my other books, those I took heed. So my other books were edited first. My
right.
children's book, Sammy Bean. I was bullied growing up. So Sammy Bean is
Mm.
about bullying and
Mhm.
about this young boy. It's kind of fantasy too, but he's overcoming this bully. And Monty King, basically fights Sammy Bean in a fantasy way, but it's basically about getting kids to get along instead of bullying, because nowadays it's worse than what it was when I was growing up, because I was bullied a
Absolutely.
lot because I was super skinny growing up. So, but now you got kids now, you got social media and stuff. So it's worse now than when I was a
Absolutely.
kid. That's why I said I wouldn't want to be a kid again. I'm sorry. So, so,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
now it's like that book was just to tell people about, try to get into the minds of kids that bullying is bad and you can just be friends, and everybody can get along. So that was just
Mhm.
a short children's book. And my next book is called One Blue Day. It's coming out soon, but I have to get my editor is going to fix that for me, make sure it's ready,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then I'll put that out. And that's just a compilation of short stories, um, about it's and they're all motivational. There's a lesson in each story, so I'm
Awesome.
excited about getting that out there because I think people will learn something different because it's a bunch
Yes,
of little short stories, and I love little short stories. I love movies that has little short stories in it. I think it's amazing.
absolutely. And sometimes, life presents us with so many little bites of
Yes.
experiences that they ultimately become that short story rather than, a 5 year relationship. And oh my gosh, we've got
Hmm.
5 different sequences going on here rather than an experience at a coffee shop. That in itself is such a magical little story that we can often overlook because we're so in tune with it's got to be a 45-minute movie and it's got to have all these big moving parts in it.
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
And then we
It's
miss out on the best parts of life.
we miss out, and that's why I said that everything is because I'm just a naturally curious person anyway. Like when I turned 2021, I became curious, so I just started reading stuff and learning things. So it's like it's like I know a little about a lot. I say that a
Mm-hmm.
lot because and it sometimes it comes back into my subconscious kind of gives me stories and stuff too from a time before. So
Yes,
and that's where I'm at. If people paid attention to themselves, they would have so many stories as well.
that's right. Then we wanted to sit and watch that black box called a television, right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, because there's a whole bunch more going on. So tell me,
It
what's next for you? You shared that you're writing this book, the short
Yes.
stories. Is there more music that's going to be coming out? Is there,
Yes.
what's next?
So, I got One Boo Day coming out, which is a compilation of short stories. And I don't know if it's going to be released by the end of the year or not, but if not, it's going to be released the beginning of January. I want to release one more single by the end of the year. My goal is to release a single by the end of the year, and I want to experiment. So I want to do rock meets soul. Um,
Mm,
yeah, I want to do something different. I've already actually I network with a podcaster from here that's going to help me with the beat. So I'm
well
working with
done.
him. He's a very talented guy. So I'm probably going to work with him or either I'll probably use my own beat, one or the other. But I'm going to be doing that. So that's coming out, I would say, by the end of December. I don't know the title of it yet because I'm still contemplating on the vibe I'm going to get. And then of course I got my dating card game, Dating Assassins card game. And the reason why I wrote this is because of my last relationship. So I wrote this because that last relationship caused a lot of ideas here. Because
Wow.
I realized that and I've noticed this from my relationship, but also just watching other people around me. They didn't ask the right questions. You know, you're marrying people you don't know, you're getting in relationships with people you don't really know. You didn't ask the right questions. So
Yes.
the card game is just 150 questions to, get to know the person you're either with or somebody you just meeting if you feel comfortable to
Hmm.
ask the questions. But these questions dive deep. We need to know if we're compatible because I could be nice and he could be nice, but it doesn't mean we're meant to be. We can still
Right.
be opposites runnings.
That's right.
So
That's
that's why I
right.
created that card game. And I just launched that a few months ago and I'm just
Wow.
still getting it out there and stuff. So I'm excited about
Yeah.
that.
That seems pretty interesting. And if anything, I think whether it's dating or not, I think could actually even be a really fun game for a bunch of girlfriends who get together on a regular
It can
basis
be.
or rekindle old friends, like if you get together with your high school friends or something like
Hmm.
that to rekindle, see where people are at, what they're doing if had you not seen a friend for a couple of years. That might be some
Yeah.
really nice jumping off points.
Yeah, because yeah, anybody can play. I know people see dating assassins, they're thinking, "Oh, I'm not dating," but no, anybody, even my
Hmm.
aunt, my great aunt kept the cards, and we played the game. And asked. I mean, some
Yeah.
questions are for relationship only, but most of the questions you can ask anybody.
That's right.
If you're frugal or stuff like that, you can ask anybody that. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a whole different slant on relationships and conversations because whether it be through a book or whether it be through an element of music, it's translation of information and
hmm.
having that as an active dialogue as a spin-off to create a conversation, to create a
Yeah.
relationship. So
Yeah, yep,
that's
and that's the thing, because a lot of times people don't connect and stuff. And this is gonna be a big thing, because I still got more card games coming, but we're trying to get this one off the ground first, and then we can push over to the next because I believe conversations is cathartic and it can help people get to know people. I think people judge people too soon, and
Mhm.
these games will you'll learn so much about somebody you didn't know, even your own family
Mhm.
member.
But I also want to tack on to that is you probably will learn more about yourself.
That too. Yes. Because then you realize what you don't want based on what that person said. You'd be
Mhm.
surprised how honest people are. Because some people are like, oh, what if somebody lied? No, most of the time I've noticed people are telling the truth. They wanted
Mhm.
someone to talk to. They just didn't have a chance. You never asked them. They
Right.
wanted to tell you,
Exactly.
and that's what I've
Yeah.
learned. I said they want to tell you, you just didn't ask and
Yes.
stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
How much fun is this? This sounds like a lot of fun. You're definitely one busy lady, Sequoia. Definitely. You're one busy lady. So I'm so grateful that you were able to take time out for our conversation to share all
Yes.
that you're doing and all the elements that you have mastered and continue to master, be it
Yes.
solely or with some support, with some help. But the biggest thing is you're putting yourself out there, and that piece of vulnerability is really quite difficult for a lot of people.
Whew,
So
it
I'm
is.
grateful for you to share what you know and to share your experiences today on this conversation. So thank you.
Oh, yes, you're welcome, and thanks for having me on to share. I'm grateful because I would hope my journey helps someone else. I really do. Genuinely do.
I'm sure it will. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.